probably why I don't do videos, because I'm not a good public speaker, and it's a little bit of trouble staying on topic, I guess. Could be because I'm ADHD or slightly autistic or ADD, I don't know. Never been diagnosed with that stuff. Maybe I should be. This would be easier if I had someone helping me, because I don't have a freaking motorcycle jack. I tried to order something, but it doesn't fit my bike. So anyway, I was born to a pastor and a teacher, and I grew up with the Bible. But as I said, it doesn't give you a relationship with God. What does give you a relationship with God is, praying to the Lord, praying to God, talking to God. What do you call talking to God? It's prayer. So you gotta, what does the Bible say? Who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved? There's a lot of arguments and debate over who the name of the Lord is. And the only reason that's up for debate is because people do not want the responsibility of having a relationship with God, because then you have to give up all the cool stuff you got. And then people develop new religions so they can have all the cool stuff they got, and like they want like however many wives you want, for example. Okay, this thing is stuck. It's digressing. Topic is how I came to have a relationship with God myself. There it goes. That was stuck. So, as I said, I was born son of a preacher man. Is it gonna come out? It's not coming out. What's that trick? I had a trick, and everything just came right out. And it's not working. I'm gonna drop my bike on me. There's something here. Okay, pop that up. So, born and raised in church, had all this head knowledge of God and the Bible. And I did believe in God. And Dad did baptize me in the bathtub when I was 11. But I didn't actually start having a relationship with Christ until I was 15. Dad got me a motorcycle when I was, 14, 15. And I only had one set of instructions. The instructions were, do not ride when I'm not home, when we are not home. I didn't have a license yet, but in the United States, a lot of kids, a lot of people ride off-road before you actually get your license or permit or whatever. I've done work and lived in Germany, and Germans are under the impression you can get a driving permit and drive without an instructor. I don't know if that's the case in some states, but I know it wasn't the case where I lived. A driving permit means that you drive with an experienced driver. That does not mean that you can just drive with a permit without any instruction. That's BS, and people who think that are wrong. That is not how it works. Alright, well, I now find that these brake pads are the wrong one for my bike. I was afraid of that, because they just didn't look right to me. That is annoying. Because I can't just go to the shop and buy them. I mean, the shop is over there in the other city. Currently, I've been working in Europe. And it's not like the United States where you can just go around the corner to a motorcycle shop or car parts place. There are Harley Davidson shops, by the way. So it is possible for me to get parts I need. But right now, parts I order are wrong. But this is what came up when I ordered this. I'm sure there's a Bible story in there that I could demonstrate that these parts don't fit together. It's got shims. Interesting. That is very much annoying. So I can't finish this job right now. But I have more jobs to do today. Okay, so when I was 15, Dad got me a motorcycle, and one instruction was, don't go riding when I'm not home, because you get hurt. And they worked in Houston as teachers, and they're like, if you're hurt, we won't know about it for an hour. And then they had an hour to commute back, because they commuted an hour from home. So then we have to go, you know. So if anything happened to me, they wanted to be there and like be able to help me out, right? So, of course, it was too much fun riding my motorcycle, and I used it to show off to other students. Like I would miss the bus intentionally, and then ride my motorcycle past them. Like, look at me, I'm riding a motorcycle. I'm so cool. I'm like the Fonzie. And I didn't wear a helmet. And my dad got me a motorcycle because he had a motorcycle when he was younger too. He had a Royal Enfield. He like lived in Detroit, and I went away to school one time. Digressing again, I'm getting ADHD with my story, or ADD. So he was riding to school one time, and some guys, I guess, were picking on him. They took a whip, like a stick, and they whipped him on his back while he was riding. He was like acting like he's being injured, but he had a pea coat on it, was protecting him. Which you should wear something heavy and thick if you're gonna ride motorcycles. So anyway, so I was 15, disobeyed my parents. I rode everywhere on that little motorcycle. First, I used to ride a bicycle before that. Then I got my motorcycle, and I rode everywhere that I rode the bicycle line. When there's a lot of off-road trails, and where we lived in Houston. Now a lot of it's subdivision, so there's a lot less off-road trails. So one morning, I skipped the bus and I rode my bike to school. And instead of parking out front, I would hide my bike back in the bushes, so no one could find it, and the teachers wouldn't know that I was riding my bike when I wasn't supposed to. But they didn't know anyway, so I could have ridden up the front street and just parked it there. But it also wasn't registered, so it had no paperwork on it whatsoever. So one fateful morning, and mind you, I was a Christian, but I was disobedient, which some Christians are, and God disciplines us when we're disobedient. And the Bible says he disciplines the ones he loves. So if you're doing bad things as a Christian and you're not getting in trouble for it or suffering consequences, then maybe you aren't really a Christian and having a relationship with God. Just saying, it's what the book says. I didn't say it, I'm just quoting the book. I can look it up if you want to know the freaking exact verse, because I've never been a person to memorize it per verse. I just memorize the verses, and I can put it all together. It's like, I know enough of the machinery of the design of the Bible that I can put it together and create and like see that the whole picture is right. Like, for example, the angels having sex with humans doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It's like me trying to take these brake pads that are wrong for the bike, make it fit. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It does not fit this thing. So the Almighty God who designed nature and built all life, including angelic beings, did not create angelic beings to be able to have sex with humanity. They don't have reproductive organs. And in fact, the Bible addresses a specific thing. Because the religious people were trying to trip Jesus up. And they're like, hey, so this guy, our law says, if a dude dies, then the woman can marry the son, the brother, on down the line until she has a kid if she hadn't had a kid yet. So what happens when first guy dies, second guy dies, third guy dies, then fourth guy? So she goes to heaven, and there's like 4 different guys that were her husband. And like Christ was like, oh my God. He said, oh my me. You guys don't know what you're talking about. And this is like very educated religious people, right? And as far as I know, Christ was a carpenter. He wasn't even educated as a religious leader, as far as we know. Which he was God in the flesh, so did he really need any of that education? And if you have a relationship with God, and God lives in your heart, then you have access to, supernatural access to the creator of the universe. So, anyway, so it doesn't fit. Like I said, I completely spaced my freaking original, where I was going with this. This is what my dad also does. We'd be preaching and he would digress the whole entire time. And that's definitely ADD, right? Is it from autism? Hyperfocus? ADHD? I don't know. Okay, so disobeyed my parents, rode my bike to school, hit my bike. Went to school. I did that all the time. Okay, so this one particular morning, which, sorry, my stories are jumbles. I'm a better writer than I am speaker. So, one morning, rode to school, missed the bus on purpose. Or not, I don't remember. I know I missed the bus. Usually on purpose, but I also skip school a lot. But I went to school. But this morning, I didn't make it to school because, like, one last major intersection before the sidewalk to the trail to the bushes where I hit my Harley didn't have stop signs. In the United States, we don't have, well, we have the right before left rule, sure, but right of way is given in the United States. You can take right of way, but if you're a defensive driver, you back off and you see what this person's going to do first. I've been living in Germany, and it's like rules. I have right of way, I go, you all can just suck it. And the problem with that is, like me, I like judge the speed of the vehicle. So if I'm like going fast enough that I'm going to make the intersection before this guy, I'm going to go for the most normally. But here in the Deutschland, even if you're going to make it before this guy comes to the intersection, people stop, or they expect you to stop, right? Sometimes if it's a close call, it's like, you can't tell who's going to hit there first, you, of course, stop or back off. Slow down. But not everyone's paying close enough attention. This is where you get defensive driving. Not everyone, has seen the sign that they're supposed to give right away when they're in the right? So you need to just check, be aware of your surroundings, like, okay, that guy's not going to stop. Or, crap, I forgot that I don't have right away even though I'm coming from the right side. So, this guy's coming too fast for me. Slow down or stop, right? So there's like, even though it's a rule, an experienced driver, I don't care how much driving school that Deutschland forces you to take, an experienced driver is going to stop or slow down if the other person's coming too fast. They're going to make the intersection before them, right? Even if you have the right of way. Like, so what? You lost your right of way, but you didn't have an accident or get killed, right? So it's like my wife always says, doesn't do you any good if your tombstone says, I had the right of way. So, anyway. So, I would have had the right of way technically, but in Texas, the smaller street doesn't have the right of way because I was coming from a side street. I mean, I've been back there, and the streets are roughly the same size. So, I mean, it was a major road that comes all the way through, and the one I was coming from was coming out of a neighborhood. So, I guess technically, I didn't have the right of way, even though I was coming from the right. There were no stop signs, and the fence of the property, there was no sidewalk. It went all the way to the edge of the road, and I couldn't see through the intersection. And I'm like, I was already having my momentum. So, like, I risked it, and I went across the intersection anyway, and there was a car coming. Just far enough behind the fence I couldn't see, but fast enough that I couldn't get out of his way in time. And since a motorcycle doesn't have reverse, I couldn't back up, so I tried to gun it to make it across. The dude swerved the same direction I was going. So my leg got caught between the Harley, or it wasn't Harley, it was a Honda. Between the Honda and his car, and it broke my femur, like practically right in the middle. And I flew over his hood, flipped me back around, and I could see his horrified expression. So I flew off his dashboard and hit the street back of my head. I was not wearing a helmet. And I had an out-of-body experience because obviously knocked me out when I hit the street. And I didn't just hit the street, I slid. Because my jacket had scrape marks, but on the inside, like cracked my collarbone, on the inside of my jacket was melted. The rubber was melted, or the plastic fur was melted together. I actually still have my jacket here. The inside was melted together from rubbing from rubbing on the street when I like slid to a stop on the street in front of that car. And when I was regaining consciousness, this video's at 17 minutes. So when I regaining consciousness, I was like down in a pit, looking up at like the surface of water, but everything was dark except for this little like circle, like little area up at the top. It was sort of like putting on VR glasses, really, except I would have been in a dark down a dark tunnel and I'm looking up, right? So as I'm coming up to the surface, I heard someone like saying, "What's your name?" Like, "Who are you? What's your name?" And I come up and like, sort of like I said, putting on the VR glasses or a helmet. And then somebody answers. And it's like, "My name is Paul." I'm like, who is that answering? So I was like separate from my mind and my body. Because I was not in my body. I was... See, all of this awareness, like your VR world here, or the real world, was way over there, you know? And it's like an out-of-body experience because this is right here, not over there. So all of this I was attached to, I was like way back there somewhere. So, I mean, people just want to say that's a brain injury, you know, that's like, yeah, okay, brain injury, absolutely, brain injury. But my brain was injured enough that shook loose my immortal soul. And I heard my body speaking, responding to the paramedics. And then I like come to the surface, I regain consciousness. It wasn't like when you're passed out, knock out, or go to sleep, and everything comes back and you're right here. I was back there somewhere, and all of this was over there. So it was an out-of-body experience. Is it because my brain was damaged? Sure. But your brain's damaged enough, you die. So I would say I was about to die. I was close to death. The Bible says when the silver cord is cut, or the bowl is broken at the well, or the pitcher, then the spirit returns to God. Like water returns to the water returns to the cistern, and the spirit returns to God. So the silver cord holding my soul to my body, my spirit to my body, wasn't cut. So I was able to be revived, and my body was not completely damaged. When I was back in my body, my motorcycle was like right here, and the wheel was spinning. So I think the front tire must have been next to me. The wheel was spinning next to my head. I was already in a neck brace, so I couldn't like move my head around, but I could like, you know, with my peripheral vision, see my leg was laying there, an unnatural position. And I was in a massive amount of pain. Like, there's no pain worse than broken bone, I guess, except crucifixion. So, and that lasts for a long time. But I was like, I wanted to go to sleep because I didn't want to feel all this pain. And they wouldn't let me go to sleep because they didn't want me to go into shock and die. Because they were trying to keep me from, because I was in shock, obviously, almost died. You know, they didn't know that I was, you know, had an out-of-body experience. You know, so they just know that, you know, I'm responding, conscious. They're gonna try to, like, you know, do the exercise with me when they get me to the hospital. So I'm get to the hospital. Mom and Dad are like, "We told you." Like, but everybody felt bad because I was suffering consequences of my mistake, right? So nobody wanted to punish me for that. Even the cop, he's like, "Man, I could have written him 6 different citations," but he's like, I didn't really have the heart. I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now. I just kind of made me feel like, you know, Christ suffered for us. We deserve our suffering, but he didn't deserve our suffering. So, like, the suffering I did for my mistake of riding my bike when I was told not to, I deserve that. You know, and everybody just didn't want to punish me further. So I broke my femur, and they had to put me in traction and put my leg like this. And now I was 15, still growing, so they didn't put pins in it, because you have to put a pin in through the end, and it damages the end of your bone, which is where you grow, right? So that would have caused my growing to be stunted. So they just put it close together as it could, which is still like 1/4 of an inch too short, so I have a limp. And all my life since that accident, my body has been a little bit helter-skelter because of that. So while I was in the hospital for 4 weeks, people from the churches came and visited me, and somebody gave me Lakewood Church, Joel Osteen, not Joel Osteen, John Osteen's dad. John Osteen's recordings of the church sermons. And even though I was always already a Christian, I always say this is the time that my faith went from my head to my heart, and I was born again. So at the end of each one of these recordings, it had the altar call. And where an altar call is when you're in church, they say, if you want to come and have, you know, give your life to the Lord, you can come up and we'll pray with you, and you can do that right now. So in the hospital bed, listening to the altar call from John Osteen's church, Lakewood Church, I prayed the prayer of salvation and I gave my life to Christ. And from that point on, I had like a new relationship with God. It was like first, you know, it was first real having God's love like real and live in my life. That I will say that is when I first became a true born-again Christian. Maybe before that I was, because Dad baptized me and I believed, but I can tell you it wasn't until I had a motorcycle accident that it went from my head to my heart. I was 15. So I didn't change being somewhat of a rebel, but what do you need? Okay. But and I did have some backslidings and disobey God, and I ended up getting kicked out of I continued having issues with Dad and get kicked out of the house. And lived on my own, and I you know, it's been a long road, and I've had a lot of good and bad experiences, but I've never abandoned my faith and my love for the Lord. And he's always been with me through all of the dark places I've been through, and I've seen some bad things that I wish I'd never seen, and I don't wish things I've gone through on other people. Sometimes I am like, you know what? You need to experience that also. Sometimes I do wish people, like I've had hard times, I end up homeless, and other people, I try to help other people so they don't go through what I went through. Sometimes when I'm helping people and they fight me with it and they take advantage of me, then I'm like, you know what? Maybe you do need to suffer, you know? And see for yourself so you appreciate the things that you have. It'd be my preference to help people and they appreciate it and they learn, you know, and do better, but some people just have to learn the hard way. Like me. But anyway, that is the testimony I wanted to get to here. It only took me 3 or 4 videos and 45 minutes. But this YouTube channel, this webpage is for the New Heritage Ministries webpage is to continue New Heritage Ministries' work of spreading the gospel, helping people, and pretty much continue my dad's work. Even though at some point New Heritage Ministries took a back burner to his other things that he was doing, and like other churches that he built. But he had promised me to give me the paperwork for this so I could be a part of it. And when he died, we found the paperwork and I got it all going again. And as you can see, I'm just a dude, you know, I'm not like wearing a big suit. I don't got any money. I'm just another dude trying to make a living like everybody else. And I'm also going to try to develop and grow this nonprofit organization my father established 2 years after I was born, 2 or 3 years after I was born, and hopefully do some good work. So that's why I wanted to put my testimony out there on this channel, just to share who I am. This is not a design here, that is just paint, because I use this hat for work. That had nothing to do with anything related to this video, but if you made it this far for the video, you're a champ. I salute you.